I'm sitting in the Millbank Chapel Recital Hall, Columbia University Teachers College, or Teachers College at Columbia University. My first, I guess, recognition of being someone with a musical gift was formally acknowledged when I was 9.5 years old in this building, the Horseman Building, where I was interviewed by Professor Raymond Burrows. Now, my early musical childhood is really strange. I grew up in a non-musical family, no piano in the home, but my folks were in the hotel business, and during the summer, we lived in the Summer Hotel in Belmar, New Jersey. And there was a piano in the ballroom. So I'm told when I was 3 or 4 years old, I would wander over to the piano and I would start playing or picking out notes and trying to make some sense of it. By the time I was 8 years old, I was able to go to the movies and come back and play what I heard, themes for movies, florid arrangements, two hands. I began to develop a classical piano technique. I could only play in 3 keys, I think, at the time, but I was getting rather good. So since I played so well, my parents bought me a piano, finally. Nice upright that could only be tuned about a quarter tone below 440. Which may have screwed up whatever perfect pitch I may have had, but really interesting. But the Summer Hotel was filled with very sophisticated guests from New York City. And it is my guess that it is one of those guests that said to my parents, "You've got to do something about this kid," because I wasn't taking lessons or anything. And someone arranged for me to be interviewed by Professor Raymond Burrows. He was one of the leading music educators of the day, and we met him in February of 1952. I remember coming up from Lakewood, New Jersey with my mom on the bus, and then we took the subway where my mother encountered a woman who needed money for the bus to get back to New Jersey, and my mother took care of her. Today we would call that panhandling. And then we arrived at Teachers College in room 402B, which no longer exists, so we are in this beautiful edifice instead. And Professor Burrows listened to me play and asked me some questions, and then began to tell my mother what needed to be done. Very simple. Just take him across the street and put him in Juilliard. There weren't too many 9-year-olds who were going as full-time students, but I think that's what Burrows had in mind. They always made exceptions for exceptional kids, whether it had been full-time or just an hour or 2 a day with a teacher there. Great. My mother explained, "Oh, we live in Lakewood, New Jersey. It's an hour and a half outside of the city, and it's really not going to be very practical. Is there anything else we can do?" "Well, they do have a prep division that meets just once a week on Saturdays." And then my mother explains that the family we were Orthodox Jews and they couldn't send me anywhere on the Sabbath. And then Burrows was absolutely undeterred, and he said, "Okay, what about a Monday? What about a Tuesday? What about a Wednesday? When can you arrange to bring him up on a regular basis, and I will find him a teacher?" And I guess my mother was a wonderful lady, and my dad was a wonderful guy, but this was a little beyond them, and their schedules and running a hotel and whatnot, to get a kid up, they weren't going to put me on the bus alone. Neither of them could manage to drive up. So my mother, I guess, was hoping that maybe there would be a piano teacher in our town that Professor Burrows knew, or maybe even on our block. But anyhow, that was not to be. And my mother finally asked Professor Burrows, "So if we can't take this wonderful advice that you're giving us, and we're very grateful for it, will we be harming his chances of development? And I don't know what Burrows was really thinking, but I remember clearly as if it were today what he said. He said it would be like trying to stop the river heading towards the sea, that I would continue to grow and develop, and when I got to a point where I needed a teacher, I would find one. And that's basically what happened. I was blessed with a terrific music teacher in Lakewood, New Jersey, who didn't give me piano lessons. He was a trumpet player. And I picked up trumpet and started playing trumpet, so I learned finally how to read at least treble clef early on in middle school. And when I was in high school, I think by the time I was a sophomore, I began to take the bus up once a week and study with Ed Troidel, who was teaching at Juilliard on trumpet. The piano was always so easy and natural, I never paid attention to the piano. And the big if in my life is, what would have happened if my mother had taken Professor Burrows' advice? Now, I can't complain. I've had a very successful career. I've never had a real life. I've always earned a living writing music. So, you know, it probably would have been different, but, and my mother and I had many discussions when she got older, and I tried not to talk about it much because she obviously, on the one hand, felt a little bit of guilt, but on the other hand, I was doing great, so, you know, at the end of the day, it really didn't make any difference. And here I am at Teachers College. This is really, really full circle for me, and I'm here because what Burrows saw when I was starting evolved into something where 2011, I'm invited to Poland to be president of the jury of the first competition of sitting at a piano and creating music in real time, like Mozart and Beethoven and Bach and Chopin and all these guys. And it's quite amazing how things happened. And it's also amazing that while our lives are very impacted by the things we do, they are also very impacted by the things that we don't do. And clearly, I think anybody with drive and talent needn't be concerned about going through the standard pedagogy, which, if I had had my opportunity, I would have done. But everybody has to find their own way at the end of the day anyhow.